isn't what it's going to actually sound like once we get all the mics set up and stuff like that. Right now, the audio is kind of going through the phones. So whatever y'all are hearing right now is what's going through the phones. So in the future, once we start figuring things out, you'll be able to hear the better audio and stuff like that. And so it'll sound a little bit more professional as we go, but we're just trying to get the feel for it right now. And, that's kind of what we're using this episode for, is kind of just to run through and see how we do. So
we got a lot of people join us. We got Paxter Baxting, Lexi Eddings, Joanna Stanley, Sophia Miklas, Aaron Brado. Ben says it sounds great, guys. All this professional talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nancy Alba just joined us too.
So another thing with like this whole deal too is like this platform, Instagram, is like just a start type deal. Like we're recording on our soundboard as well. So that way later we can post it on Spotify. So people who didn't get to see, it's going to be on Spotify and like stay there type deal. For sure. Multiple platforms.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do is the outreach. I think that it'll definitely help because we'll get on multiple platforms. I know my mom and my grandma were like, where can I go watch and stuff like that? And I was like, well, kind of right now, if you don't have an Instagram account or something like that, you really can't watch. But later on, we'll try and get it to where everybody can watch, So this, like I said, this is kind of starting out, seeing where we're at. But other than that, we're pretty much ready to start.
Yeah, and the whole idea is, again, like, especially for this first one, talking about connection. Because, like, that's something we're realizing. I mean, especially when, like, I'm a pastor. So, like when we think about church and you think about that word, right, it's supposed to be about community of believers and things like that. But the reality of, like, all of our schedules right now is that we're all going in different places. And sometimes you just can't jump into that community. And then there's other times where you feel like you kind of been, like, pulled out of a community. And it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now? How can I be reconnected and reminded of this community, these people that God has placed into my life? And one of the ways we just connect these days is through social media. But even through social media, even through texting, even through all these different things, there's not really that opportunity to just sit and talk and things like that. Bro Andrew, bro Austin.
Is that Wrecking Ball Kearns?
That is Austin Wrecking Ball Kearns.
Austin Wrecking Ball Kearns.
He got a new nickname. Ben Singer, I know that you gave him the nickname of Nugget because he ordered chicken nuggets at a Mexican restaurant, but he's now like broke things like over and over and over again. So he has a new nickname there too. But Austin, we don't know what name we're going to be using on Spotify just yet. That's kind of, again, this is kind of just the start of something and seeing kind of where you guys are at, what you guys are doing and things like that.
Yep. More on the relationship thing. We wanted this episode to kind of start talking about, like Lee said, talk about relationships and stuff like that, because through this we'll be able to connect with more people, and so y'all will have a relationship, not necessarily in person, but you'll have that relationship through this. And so for those of y'all that can't come to like Trinity itself, this will be like the relationship part of it and like the fellowship part of it that you're kind of missing when you're not here. So
And it's not even just Trinity itself, right? I mean, it's just community with one another. I mean, that's what everything's all about. How about Father Abraham's podcast? That's hilarious, Benjamin. For some reason, and I don't know the reason, we nicknamed me Father Abraham at one point. And I think the whole point was just we were playing basketball because like some upper level high schoolers and college students like to play basketball. And Ben, if you've never played, what up, Andrew Kaloff? Asking for the shout out. And what up, Lexi? I saw you in there too. Hannah Putman, what's up? Great to see you here too. But anyways, we were playing basketball one time, and Ben, if you've never played with Ben Singer, he loves to get in your head, as so many do. The Brennans are also wonderful at that, just trying to get into your head when you're playing basketball. So his was by giving me Father Abraham. And you said it's because I have many sons. I have no children. I have Sullivan, my dog.
Sullivan is the only one I have. Son of many.
He is a son of many.
Son of many?
Son of many.
What does that mean?
Means I'm his father as well.
You're his father as well?
Yes,
so
I'm
he has
his
a
father.
lot of fathers. All right, well.
It's because I'm moving in this summer, so.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, Andrew, that's the plan is doing a podcast, posting it on Spotify. And doing 1 week. And this is like the live stream. Just because, too, like, if you guys have questions tonight, if you have thoughts about relationships or connection, stuff that we're talking about, like, we'd love for you guys to interact with it tonight, too. Shout out to Ali Shimchek. 1 week about peer pressure. Yeah, that'd be an awesome topic to be able to talk about for sure, because that's such a big thing. And as we go to this kind of connection thing, I mean, what do you guys think about when you feel like you're having conversations or when you're connected to someone? Like, what comes to mind? Like what maybe a story where you kind of realize the importance of that, or maybe just situations where you really have found that to be super impactful.
Are you talking to us?
Yeah, you guys. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait.
We're the ones in the room here.
So a situation where we felt the impact of a relationship and like how that's important.
Yeah.
I think definitely at school, I think that the relationships there are super important because like for me, like when I moved to Concordia, I didn't really know anybody. I knew one person. So kind of connecting and making those bonds coming into Concordia was really important for me because like I literally didn't have anybody. And I know for like some people that went to Concordia, that wasn't necessarily the case because they had come from like Trinity or Salem or whatever. But I didn't really have that. And so definitely coming into Concordia, it was really important for me to find those bonds and those friendships because it kind of molded me into the next 4 years of high school and like what I was a part of and what I did kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think about, well, like you mentioned coming into Concordia, but I also kind of think back on like how we met and how you came into like the Trinity fold in a sense.
Yeah.
Like I was sitting there, y'all, for easily my first 2 years of ministry. Like I kind of was one of those guys that sat in the same place in church every single time. Well, it just so happens Aiden and his mom were the same exact way. And so they would sit like 2 rows in front of me. And I saw Aiden, and I guess you were like a sophomore at that point. Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, this kid must be in college because I haven't seen him connecting in youth ministry. But they're there every single week. Well, flash forward to junior year, and I'm sitting by Clayton's parents at a football game. And like I noticed Aiden standing next to Clayton, and I'm like, I'm sitting next to Bear, Clayton's dad, and I'm like, hey, do you know this kid? He's like, oh, this kid standing next to Clayton. He's like, I can't really see. You gotta help me out with that. I said his last name's Childress, and he's like, I don't know that name. And I was like, let me find out the first name. And then all of a sudden I looked and I said, it's Aiden. He goes, oh yeah, I know Aiden. And I was like, well, he's in church every single week. What grade is he? He's like, I'm pretty sure he's the same age as Clayton. And I was like, well, you ought to see if Clayton will like invite him over and things like that. And lo and behold, like, I guess the long story short is look where we ended up, like being able to do this together, connecting in ministry, doing some awesome things, going to the Stars Retreat now for 2 years, plugging in at Crew. Like it's been awesome with that piece.
Yeah.
Definitely gain relationships when like with our like circle almost we have here, like Trinity, like coming and like getting involved is the biggest part. Because once you're involved, you're in that little group of kids and like you gain those relationships through your time here.
Yeah.
Because definitely like through all of like middle school and through all the Sunday schools and everything with the church, I definitely see how like I've gained like some of my friendships that I'm pretty sure will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to touch back on that in a second. I want to kind of cover some of the stuff we're seeing. Ben, I saw your thing about trusting God's calling for your life. I think that's an awesome topic we can hit into. Hannah Putman would love to talk about dinosaurs being in the Bible, actually, at certain points. That's always a question I get. I've gotten that now for a while now, but I really enjoy that conversation and seeing the pieces where we actually see evidence of that there. Willow Still, what up, man? That's Campos, right? Willow Still? Mr. Campos.
Yeah, it's him.
Awesome. Howdy from College Station, man. Great to hear from you. It was great to hear from you a few weeks ago too, man, when you gave me that call. Appreciate that. So thinking back to like Trinity, and I see Jennifer or Lexi commenting about like how Trinity is family and things like too. I also think about those that are maybe watching or listening in and thinking about how Mallory, how long are we going to be on for? We're planning on we
guesstimate 30 minutes. Like,
guesstimate 30 minutes.
We go longer, it's no harm, no foul. Shorter, hopefully not.
Yeah. So. But I think about too people that might be listening who don't have that connection yet, and kind of thinking about. I mean, Aiden, you might even be thinking about like coming into a community like this for the first time and what that's like, and to be able to hear other people have this. But like, what does it mean for me to connect and build relationships? And if I'm coming from the outside, I mean, anybody got thoughts on that?
I think for me at least, whenever I was like coming into Trinity. Obviously it was kind of scary because, you don't really know a whole lot of people. And so just kind of putting myself out there, which I really hadn't ever done before because I really hadn't had to. It was definitely a different experience, but I'm glad that I had the experience because I think now that it's kind of, it's put a different outlook on things for me because I feel like being more of an open person and being more, happy to be around people, it definitely helps to not necessarily have to be closed off all the time, And so I think that coming to a community like this where they're, loving and caring and don't really care who you are, just as long as you're here. That I think that's probably the best part.
Yeah, totally. And I want you to think, I mean, maybe you're someone out there listening right now. Devin, what up? I see you joined in. I want you to think about too, though, like community can mean so many different things these days. I mean, especially when we think about the communities in social media. And the thing that kind of gets me sometimes is how we feel like we're a part of something that we're not a part of something. But for this and what we're doing right now, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, whether you're plugged in here, not plugged in here, at least you're plugged into kind of what we're talking about each week and things like that. So like we want you to know, like that's why we're doing this, to be able to make sure you're not alone, that there are people out there that want to be able to have these conversations with you, engaging with you, questions and things like that. But also it'd also be great to like see you in person and be able to talk like that. What you thinking about, Clayton?
Yeah, definitely like coming in person for sure. This is like a kind of a call out to come check out Trinity. It's a really cool place. I've lived here for pretty much my whole life, like almost been 14, 15 years. And I know it's like had an impact on my life for sure. And I know like with Aiden, like you came 2 years ago or whatever, but like it's definitely, you would say it's had an impact, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I think of like other people too, like Aiden, like, I mean, Campos is in here. And like, I remember when Campos kind of came into the ministry and like became like a huge kind of piece of it, because like even the year after he graduated, he's coming back and being a junior high leader for us and stuff like that too. And it was because of that piece of you guys that are off at college now, like y'all can kind of relate of like, well, I had this like rock solid thing, I felt like, but where did it go, or what can I do? And so it was really cool to see someone still connecting back in and being such a piece of it. Because the reality is we are all just one big family. And what would the world look like if we all remembered that and treated us like that and caught up with each other like family,
Right.
For sure.
Ethan Cantu joined. What's up, Ethan? What up, Heather? Joined up in there too. Jake Skelly.
And I think coming back to something that Clayton said about coming to Trinity, I think as long as you're going to some church, that's better than anything. Better than nothing, because like you get like the whole friendships and stuff at school and stuff. But I think coming to church is a completely different experience, because there's not this thing where there's like the little niches and stuff like that. Like everybody comes together as like a community, and it's like a completely different experience from anything that you've ever felt. I mean, at least personally for me, like whenever we went on the Stars retreat, there's just a complete like sense of community there. And it's an insane feeling, because it's not anything that you feel anywhere else. It's something that is exclusively in church. And I mean, I don't really have a reason why it's like that. I don't know why it's like that, but there's a 100% chance that that's going to happen if you go to any church. If you step foot in any church, there's going to be some type of community, and you're going to get some kind of impact from that community. So
yeah, exactly. Like that kind of community is something that happens because of what Christ is doing in us and through us and things like that. And that's what's so great about it. Because like I don't want you to hear like we're only doing this to promote Trinity or something like that, because it's not the case at all. Like my life, what we do here should always just be promoting Jesus and the awesome thing that he's doing. So I hope that's what you're hearing from us too. So I'm seeing some people, Mr. Kaloff apparently just walked his pet fish, but he's back in here.
Okay.
So he's got that down for us. And Willow Still, it was one of the coolest parts of my life too, that you made the decision to join us. And definitely next time you're in town, hit us up for sure. But yeah, walking the pet fish, man, that takes some talent. That takes some talent.
Oh Lord. Like, do you put it on a leash or something? Like, how do you walk a pet fish? Do you put it on a skateboard and you like
a skateboard?
Yeah, I want to go in detail on
like
this.
On a fishbowl.
Yeah, like a fishbowl.
Like you put the fishbowl on the
skateboard, and then you pull the skateboard around.
Dude,
okay, now I see.
Does that make more sense? So
yeah, it makes more sense, because I was like, if you tie that fish up, pull it out, like
something bad's about to happen.
You're going to die.
Lexi wrote us a paper. We can edit later.
Lexi, I appreciate your sentiments in there. Coming to training is cool because at school, talking about Christianity is not always on people's mind, but crew is beneficial because you can be in that environment, people who are your age. Well, now something we really hit last night. Last Wednesday nights, we have our junior high students, and there's definitely a big talk about, like, why do we come together? Andrew, that's so sad. He says, I put it in my toilet. I lost it from there. Rip, man.
Got dark real fast.
Got dark real quick. Man. Well,
how do you say to that?
But last night was kind of an upper, like, in the sense that we were reminded, even in 7th and 8th grade, right? You want to be silly, you want to joke around, but we kind of said, why do we come together? Why do we do what we do? And it's because like we actually want to grow. We actually want to be different. We look at this world, we feel the brokenness of this world. And when you come into community, even a community like this, that's on Instagram Live, having fun about fish walking in toilets and things like that, like you're at least bringing in a community of people that, you know, care about you and care about you because someone else cares about you more. Right. Yeah. And so the love of Jesus that we feel, all of a sudden we share with other people. And that's really where true community happens too. So Elise, Cam, what up? I don't know that we've met yet, but I would love to meet you. Thank you for joining with us. Andrew's talked about his walking his pet fish. And we've been talking about communication, relationships, and just the importance of being able to sit around and talk and actually, well, like, and that's the thing is like, I mean, talk about this. The other thing that can happen is the feeling of isolation. And when you feel like you can't talk to someone, and that's like the worst, and that's the pits.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how often do you guys see that in school or things like that? Or how often do you get told like
all the time? I mean, it's constant. Because people don't want to open up about their stuff, and if they do, then, you know, it's very closed off. Not a whole lot of, I don't know. Maybe that's just for me, but whenever somebody comes to school, at least, I always feel like they're just kind of closed off. They're just there to go to school, and then they leave, you know.
Dude, so great question then. Maybe. You can be the judge of it.
Maybe.
Why do you feel like we do that? Why do we close each other off, especially in a school environment? Because I hear this a lot. Why do we do that?
I really don't know. Like, for me, it's almost like it's like a set rule. It's like almost like the unspoken rules type deal. Like, you kind of like just go to school and you get your stuff done. You don't really open up. You can be silly type deal. You can have fun, but it's not too much about getting real type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, do you think there's a fear of being well? I think what we're saying is there is a fear of being real.
For sure.
Why do we think there's a fear of being real or being honest or being vulnerable? I like it. Andrew Kaloff said it's just routine. What up, Allison Sawyer? Thanks for joining us.
I mean, I think maybe that there's the reason why that might be is, well, one, you obviously only have 45 minutes to be real with somebody, and at the same time you're trying to learn, so you can't really stop and have a real conversation. And even in the hallways, you know, lunch, whatever, you're just kind of on that path of, oh, I know I have to get this done today. I don't really have time to open up and, you know, spill out this long story about everything, you know. So there's just not a whole lot of extra time that we get in school, which, I mean, I feel like that's just kind of how school always is.
So this is interesting, right? Because I feel like I hear people describe life this way sometimes too, though. So it's not just school, but they feel like with everything going on in life, they can't stop. Like, do you get that impression from your friends?
For sure. It's like it's like on a wheel. It just keeps going and it comes right back around. It keeps going, it comes right back around. Like Andrew said on here, he said it's a routine. Like, it's something you just almost get trapped in. It feels like a trap almost, school. For sure.
No, I definitely agree with that. And honestly, I feel like that can be a bad thing and a good thing at the same time, because there's a place to open up and there's a place not to, you know?
Okay. Expand on that.
So I feel like I guess it's not necessarily bad to always be open, but I feel like at certain times there's appropriate places that you should be open, and there's appropriate places where you just got to get your stuff done.
Okay. So like, you don't want it to, there's this level at least of things need to get done. And so I need to make sure, and I've definitely been there. So like, for example, I think it's a good example. You be the judge. Like my freshman year of college, okay, I was stressed to the max because my college was awesome. You only had to take, there were units thing instead of an hours. So you only had to take 4 units, but somehow in that finals week, I had 6 significant papers or tests in 1 week. So over the course of 4 days, I had 6 either significant tests or paper. I was freaking out. And so I went to my advisor, who was one of my teachers at that time, and I said, because like, that's what I've been told. Go talk to him. They'll work with you, things like that. Do you know what he said to me?
What is it?
Just get it done.
Just get it done.
And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm super overwhelmed right now, and like, I can't do this. I can't make it happen. And that was one of those moments, I think, where I did open up, and he was telling me, look, you can do this. Your brain is working against what it's actually capable of doing. Get in, get it done. you're going to get through it. And at the end of the day, it was a lesson I kind of had to learn all the way through college too, was I'm actually much more capable of things than my mind sometimes lets me know. And I actually can accomplish and get things done. And I just have to kind of trust it. And here's the other reality too, is that like life is allowed to stop. And I hope that you're hearing that too, is that sometimes you have to pause and you have to process and you have to do that. So even at school, and I'm hearing this schedule and stuff like that, I'm seeing that. And but I'm also saying your teachers are there when it's time to pause or time to stop. And you got other people in your life too. And I've seen people be able to take advantage of it, things like that. It looks like Jake got something for us there. What's Jake saying? At school, most of the time, you don't have like one-on-one time with a person if you want to open up. You're usually in a group setting. Makes it hard most of the time. Yeah,
I can agree with that.
Yeah, totally. So like the idea of being vulnerable in a mass is kind of hard to do. Like, but like, I mean, what would you do in that situation? So let's say you're in a situation, you know something's going on, you know you got to talk about it with someone, and you're at school. Like, say even the beginning of the day. What advice do you have for someone, Clayton?
If like in the morning, like you see someone like is
it's,
upset.
It's morning at school. No. I'm someone walking around school. I'm the one that's got real tough stuff, but I got a smile on the face because that's what we do. And I know something's bugging me. I need life to stop right now. But there's people always surrounding me. This is not the space. You're not allowed to be real when you're at school. What advice do you have for that person?
So like you gotta find like your kind of like people type deal, I think. You gotta find those people who you can be vulnerable with. Like at Concordia, we're able to like majority of our teachers are able to like kind of pull us aside sometimes and even like kind of work with us. And if we need that other person, like we know we want to talk to them, they can usually kind of help us. But you got to find those people that are there for you and are there to help you, like that you come first type deal, especially your mental health.
Yeah, and I grew up going to public school, and like I had coaches or I had teachers that I knew if something real was going on. I had a relationship with the counseling office too, just because of different things I was involved with. And so I knew too, if I really needed to talk, like I was identifying people that I could pause and talk with, or even with friends being able to say, nice, okay, sweet. All right, we got some comments coming in. Andrew Kaloff, it's definitely the people you surround yourself affects the outcome of your getting your stuff done in general emotion. Most of the time, people don't want to be generally open, so it isolates people. Lexi's identified Uma as one of those go-to people for her, so she's identified someone at her school that helps with that kind of stuff. That's awesome. I think that's a really healthy thing, is to be able to just say, what will I do? What can I do? For sure.
And I think with the whole like busy schedule thing, I think it's kind of it's kind of what you put yourself in, because you can definitely take yourself out of that busy schedule if you need it, you know. Like, I know for me, like, I feel like my schedule is fairly busy, but if I ever needed to, I would just put everything down and stop.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that a couple of times this year where somebody's needed to talk and I'm just like, all right, let's talk, you know?
Yeah. And especially if you're someone who is overwhelmed, like, it's okay to stop. Like, that's the thing is, okay, you're about to bomb a test. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't. And that test is going to come and that test is going to go, and your life is still more valuable than that test. And I saw Presto-Matic. I saw Jacob Singer join up. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I see, Hannah's just asking her brother when you're coming home. Austin Kearns, Wrecking Ball Kearns, Austin Wrecking Ball Kearns said, and if you go to a different school than other people, it makes it harder to open up because you don't see them that often and don't want to open up when you do. And Jacob Singer, Presto-Matic, everybody that's up in here, I really love you guys, and it is great to even just be here now in this moment, and you guys are joining us for this. That's why we're doing this, being able to connect. I know y'all don't believe it. That's the thing. Especially with the Stars Weekend, like, it's always reminiscent. I was able to text and connect some folks, right? And I feel like when I texted them, they were probably like, oh, well, that didn't really mean anything. He just has to do that because he's Pastor Lee and he's trying to. I was like, no, like, I genuinely have joy every time I think about any student who has ever walked through these doors. Like, y'all give me great joy to remember the times we've had, the times we are still to have. Again, as I told people when they graduate, you're not dying. Like, I'm not going to cry right now because you're not dying, and I do expect you. I had girls after 8th grade graduation last year. 8th grade graduation, they walk out, they're bawling, okay? And I did the graduation talk here, and they're walking out, they're like, we're going to miss you, Pastor Lee. And I was like, I expect to see you. You're in 8th grade, you're going into 9th grade.
A case.
Oh, Ty McKinney. We won't be talking about that one right now. But yeah, pray for that situation. Continue to pray for that situation.
He writes that on the boards in class too.
What?
Free Davis.
Oh, that's a topic for another time.
Yes.
Lexi has a topic for another time. Addiction is another good one to talk about for sure. Ben Singer said, I feel like Christians in general could facilitate the gospel more effectively if we learn to swallow our pride and be the first ones to reach out to everyone, not just kids that make us comfortable. I mean, that's a good point too. When you really think about what Jesus did with the disciples, when you think about what we're called to do, is to really jump out of our comfort zones. And I know that's super hard to do for high schoolers in general. I see it particularly in our 7th and 8th graders this year, seeing it in our freshman boys, seeing it in you guys too, of how do I allow God to use my life to reach someone that I wouldn't normally try and reach, or try and go and do that, and it is uncomfortable, but like keep thinking about that.
And I think something that Austin said about going to different schools and stuff like that, and you don't necessarily have those people that you go to like church with. I know for people that go to Concordia and Trinity and stuff like that, they're very blessed to be able to have that where they get to go to school with the same people they go to church with. And I know that that some of the people that go here don't necessarily have that. But from the standpoint of somebody that doesn't go to school at like Concordia or Trinity or whatever, you gotta kind of reach out. You gotta take that next step and to find those people in your life that you're gonna want to talk to, and if you need to talk to, you can. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be at the same school with you, but it definitely helps. For sure, it definitely helps to have them at the same school, just in case, you're in the middle of the day and you need some help or something like that. You can always have that person to go to,
Yeah, and we're in 2020 now, and like you still are connected like by phone and stuff like that, and so you can always say, Brady said to stop touching the bottom of your shoe, Clayton. So apparently he's noticed a tendency there. Eventually, I'll have my little quirks too that someone's going to call out.
Catch me.
But to identify those, and I like what Crystal had to say too about pray. Like when you're sitting there and you're like, man, you might be sitting here saying, hey, Ali Shimchek, what's up, man? Or you might be saying, like, oh, I don't know if I have one of those people in my life. I don't know who I'd call in that situation. I don't know what I'd do. And the reality is, like, pray for it. Like, say, God, identify this person for me. And lo and behold, you might be able to have that conversation with someone. And I encourage that. If I've identified someone who this is who I would go to, say to them like, hey, I'm not going through something right now, but if I were, would it be cool if I like pulled you aside? Would it be cool if I texted you? Like if we didn't go to the same school, then like, could we meet up for coffee like afterward or Chick-fil-A if we could, something like that? Could we go play with Sullivan,
Right. And obviously that doesn't necessarily have to be a student or, another peer. That can literally be anybody. That can be a teacher, whoever, the janitor. I mean, whoever you want to talk to. I mean, seriously. I know for me, I've talked to Lee a lot in the past 2 years, and it's been a great experience because I haven't really had that kind of person that's, been able to show me the walk of life through Jesus. So I haven't really had that in my life necessarily. So to have him to be that person, obviously not being a peer, but to be that person for me has really helped a lot,
It's been a joy for me too. I mean, I love being able to just process life together. And that's the thing is like, I mean, I've noticed this in the junior high kids too. Like a lot of times they feel like they have to tell us the right answer or give us the right answer and things like that. And I think even in life, so we expect if we were to go and talk to an adult, then they're just going to tell us the right answer. Like, and they're going to tell us this and this. I don't like doing that. I don't think that's right. I think it's about walking alongside of you, hearing where you're at, and seeing where you're processing at, because I can't do it for anybody. Like the only person that's going to do it for you is him. And so I've really enjoyed those moments too. Just Holy Spirit working in the conversation and Jesus doing what he's supposed to be doing. What is Josh Stowe Kicks? Josh Stowe Kicks, what's up, man? Aubrey Zipter, what's up? Great to have you with us.
All right, so I have a question.
All right.
So if you're dealing with like a situation with a friend, like you were friends for a long time type deal, and like you like something happened, like this is the kind of situation thing. Something happened though, and like they're not talking to you or whatsoever, but like you don't really know why, but they don't want to talk to you at all. What are you supposed to do? Like they're not gonna they don't want to get vulnerable with you. What are you supposed to do in the situation where like nothing's going your way type deal?
So you're saying like like y'all used to be friends or something like that?
Yeah, like you were friends, but then something happened, kind of like Rocky shook something up.
Shook something up, and then and it's just cutting off communication.
For sure, yeah.
So I mean, what do you guys think?
I don't know. That's a hard situation because I feel like being close friends with somebody and then just something happening and them just cutting you off, I feel like that kind of speaks levels for what kind of friend they really are. If they're not willing to be there with you through the thick and the thin, then I don't know if that's necessarily a friend that you want to keep in your life.
Well, okay, so let's think about this then too. Like, cause in our minds, like we can always say like, oh, I know what happened, I know why it's happening, and things like that. But I think especially some of the lessons we've learned walking through stuff together is you absolutely never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And so whatever happened, like it might not even be you. Reach out, confront them about how you feel. I like that, Hannah. I'm going to get there. I think we're going to get there. You help bring us there. And I think that's a piece of it is one, acknowledge I might not have the full story. I might not really know what's going on. Chances are whatever stuff that was there, Abby Thomas, what up? Chances are whatever happened there could have triggered something completely different. Or chances are something might be happening at home that I don't know about. And so this coupled with that told them retreat and things like that.
Right.
So Hannah, I like what you have to say. Brittany, what up? Nice to see you here. What Hannah said there about going and talking to them, reach out, confront them about how you feel. And it's not like confront can feel like a strong word because it feels like attack or something like that. But it's really just, the words, the truth will set you free is really what it is. And this is what I would do in that situation. I'll go up to that person and be like, hey, so I've just noticed that like we used to be really great friends. We used to be really close. And this happened. And since then, I've noticed that we haven't talked. It feels like that you've kind of, or we've just cut each other off. And I just want to kind of hear from you where you're at with this situation and what's going on. And really, it's just trying to get to that place of understanding that's going to help so much because we really truly don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why it's like I mean, maybe this is a conversation for another time. But like when someone comes up and asks me like a tough question, I always feel like my go-to answer. So here's my playbook. My go-to question back, my response when there's a tough question is, why do you want to know? You know? So like, I mean, and this is kind of a deeper topic, but like one of the popular ones I talk about is with the issue of abortion, right? So in the issue of abortion, someone comes up to me and says, is having an abortion a sin? And so as Christians, like we're like, oh, life issues, that's a big issue. We just had Life Sunday. Donald Trump went to it, first president to do that, kind of a big deal. But life and the topic of abortion is big every single time it comes around. But so it's how do I answer that? Because like I know what I think is the Sunday school answer, but like I know there's a lot of the vagueness to it all. And I think the best response every time is, why do you want to know? Because a girl comes up to me and says, is having an abortion a sin? And I say, yes, big sin, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, and then I come to find out the reason why is because she just had one. Oh, snap. Like that's a different, Jesus isn't entering into that, right, with the truth in that situation because there's a different truth he might want to speak to someone who's in that situation versus come up and I say, yes or no, having an abortion isn't a sin. And this girl's going, okay, great, because I was thinking about having one and I'm going to go and do that now, right? Because the yes and no, the black, the white, the right answer is not always the best answer. And so typically the best response you can have for something is why do you want to know? I mean, and it's coming from a place, I think the key word there in our conversations and our relationships is understanding.
Understanding the situation, for sure.
So we've got AJ Lott coming in, Keegan Simons, what's up? Your fish got sick, Andrew? This is a very fascinating fish, and I would like to know its name because we've now walked it in the toilet, which was kind of grim, but apparently it's still alive, and you didn't lose it, and it's now sick. So there's there. Hannah Putman said she agrees with you, Aiden, what you're saying, but also the other person might feel like you don't want to come to them, and it causes both parties to feel closed off. And how many times does that happen too? Oh, yeah. Something bad happens, and there's just that awkwardness of, okay, wait, now we're both not talking to each other, and so it's actually a two-way street at that point.
Right. No, I can totally see that.
Yo, Keegan Simons. What's up, man? My boy. Well, we're coming up on where we kind of said we'd want to be wrapping things up. So what do you guys think as far as, what do you guys think about how the conversations? Y'all gave us a lot of good feedback on some future conversations we can have, some tough ones. I know our goals are to like have fun because we think life is fun, but there's also this reality of life's about the journey and the experience together too. What are you guys thinking as we wrap up this first one?
Wait, are you asking them or
I'm asking you. Well, them and you. You guys
Okay.
go because we're talking.
Oh, okay. So like, what do you think of what we're doing?
Corey Eve said, I really love what you guys are doing with this podcast. Yeah. Just talk about how you feel about this first one and what we're trying to do and things like that.
I think this definitely was a good start. I think it can definitely go a lot farther than what it is right now. There's a lot that we can do to improve on what we're doing. I know some of the stuff we did today was definitely kind of just thrown together. But I think this will be a really good thing for people that, like we said, aren't necessarily here all the time or don't necessarily have that connection with the church or whatever. And even at that, this doesn't necessarily have to be church for you. You know, this can just be a chance to just listen to three guys talk about just some life stuff.
Life. Yeah, life together. I'm all about that. Clayton, what you feeling?
With this whole platform or with this whole idea?
Everything. Yeah.
I don't know why we did this in the first place.
Don't. That's Clayton's version of a joke. Sometimes his jokes are not funny.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I came to you about this. I was just super excited about it. So, I don't know. I just wanted to communication, trying to get to more talk.
Yeah, and we got some awesome comments here. We'll dive through those. Andrew Kaloff, he digged it. Ali Shimchek, great conversations, very relevant. Ali, I miss you. I love you too, and I love every time I get to see you in church or passing and different places and things like that. Lexi said, perfect platform. People may not be able to attend crew or uncomfortable with being there if they don't know people. Amen to that. Like totally. For people that feel disconnected or don't know how to connect, we're here to remind you that Jesus is still here for you, and we're still connected in some way and fashion too, and we want to be here for you. Bryce Kinney said, from what I listened, it was good. Love you, Bryce. Facts, Keegan Simons, always there. Alexa, subscribe, big fan. Lexi and I, 100. Oh, that's 10,000%. That's not 100%.
That's a lot of percent.
Ditto from Olivia. Post the podcast to YouTube. You better believe it. Got Apple Music. Sweet. Awesome.
And
love you guys.
Just to say something before, whatever. Yeah. I think that obviously us three, we're trying to do as much as we can to publicize this. But, if y'all want to see more of this and y'all want to get more people into the church and get more people to talk about real stuff, definitely try and publicize this as much as possible, because I know that there's only so much that us three can do to be able to get that out there. So, if it's even just talking to one person, that's better than nothing,
Yeah. I mean, by all means. And again, the idea of just being out there for people, if you like what we're doing, talking about life, having conversations, having relationships, like that's the best, Thank you, Andrew Kaloff. I appreciate that. I enjoy those opportunities to do chapel. I really do. Like I think it's a great. I mean, I love being there. I'm always so amazed when I go to Concordia too. Like, how about this? The most nervous I ever get lately, I mean, in the last 4 years of ministry to do things, is Concordia. You know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I recognize the people in the room, and made up in that room is a lot of people that go to a Christian school, sure. But a lot of people who aren't connected, these people we're talking about, right, that may not feel like they have a place in the church or may not have a place with Jesus. And so that pressure of, okay, God, you're about to use me to speak to people who might be broken by things or who might be unconnected from different things. And there might be a lot of hurt. There might be a whole lot of pain. And the prayer in that moment is just, Lord, me? Really? It's kind of like the Moses going like, you're choosing me to do this? It's just it feels like a big responsibility. Right. So I'm humbled just to even be able to do that. I love the partnership I'm able to have there and to be able to meet you guys, like meet so many of you guys that might be feeling that way too. And again, it's all for Team Jesus. It's not all for Team Trinity. It's not all for Team Concordia. It's all for Team Jesus. And that's what I love. He's the man,
Definitely.
Cool.
Bro, lunch sessions with Lee. I would love that. No doubt about that.
Okay, well, do y'all have any more questions before we head out?
You can always DM too. DM the Trinity Instagram
work.
account or me.
Yeah. And Alexa said, Pastor, you should feel nervous after that dig on Alabama in your sermon. Alexa, I love that you are going to Alabama. My aunt has a big heart for there. She graduated from Auburn, but she went to Alabama. And so, like, I can definitely connect. She's got some connections. She works for the Tuscaloosa News, and she's actually the editor for the Tuscaloosa magazine as well. So definitely good connections there. And I love you. I don't love the University of Alabama. I wish Saban would leave the University of Alabama so I could appreciate him more as a coach. But he probably won't do that now.
It's okay. He lost, so it's okay.
Oh, it says read my comment. What did Hannah say? Did we miss what Hannah said?
What did
I call being a special guest. There are a lot of people that want to be special guests on this, but we'll be working that out. Thank you for your patience with that. Like they said, DM us, ask us questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. This has been awesome.
Sweet.
Clayton's going to go mess with the phones because I'm terrible at technology, and I'll mess it up.